Greetings, good people. What's up? What's happening? My name is Dr. Clarence, and welcome back to TV7 Live, where we get to give you all the hottest and top trending topics, broadcasting live and direct from Zimbabwe, Africa. On a Saturday, 26 October 2024, it seems ED 2030 has been stopped. Now, who do we see making the announcement? We see none other than Patrick Chinamasa there. Now, Patrick Chinamasa is somebody who is known as a negotiator in ZANU-PF. Why did Patrick Chinamasa have to be the one to announce this ED 2030 stopping? We're gonna go in there right about now. In the meantime, before we proceed with that, let us check out the announcement itself, where we see him, Mr. Patrick Chinamasa, making the announcement there.
Of the current constitution, the national current constitution. So His Excellency is saying, I'm a constitutionalist. I will abide by the constitution, which limits presidential terms. And I have no intention of serving beyond 2020. This will come as sad news to you, but please don't stone the messenger.
Now he is reading, from ED's speech there, like something that ED has written. And then he goes on to say, please don't stone the messenger. I'm just the messenger here, bringing the message.
So where we stand, distinguished delegates, is that of all the resolutions, there is one resolution which cannot be implemented without.
So we are seeing this is announced during the night. Why during the night again? As we can hear the crowd, the people, there isn't much response from the crowd, but rather one people are shouting from the background. Enough respect to everybody who's watching us live, to those watching us live right now. Write your comments in the top chat or in the super chat. That's how I can get CNM, so I can give you a shout out. Enough respect there. It seems ED 2030 has been officially cancelled. Now we're gonna be talking about why it is Patrick Chinamasa who makes this announcement. Remember, Patrick Chinamasa is known as a negotiator. He is known for his negotiation skills. We saw him in 2008 making political negotiations that would lead to the GNU. Again, economic sanctions discussions in 2007, engagement with the international financial institutions as a Minister of Finance. Then his negotiational style or his negotiation skill is notable throughout history. So we're going to go through that. And again, during the land reform program, he was the Minister of Justice. He did the negotiations. Again, he is seen within ZANU-PF, especially during turbulent times. Even following the coup, we see him at one event that is held in Highfield at Zimbabwe grounds there. He is asked to make a slogan there, even though the crowd would boo him. Those who were controlling the crowd would bear with the crowd to bear with them to allow him to make his slogan. Now, how powerful is Patrick Chinamasa and how significant is he in the ruling party ZANU-PF? Anyways, before we go there, let us continue watching this announcement here.
Express consent and agreement of His Excellency President Dr. Emerson Mnangagwa. And on Monday, when he told me this, he said,
on Monday, when he told me this, he's saying he was told by President ED on Monday. We are now seeing the negotiation skills in action there. Obviously, this announcement was made yesterday evening. Or was it?
You tell them you consulted me.
He consulted me. Take note of the word consulted.
Which is what I'm conveying to you this afternoon. So we will have our resolution, but I think we must understand coming from here that it will not go anywhere. Because His Excellency is emphatic that when 2028 comes, He will not save beyond that date. He is very emphatic that he had a hand in the drafting and crafting of this constitution, and he cannot be seen nationally, globally, to be the first to violate what he put in place.
Take note the language. He cannot be the first to be seen globally, to be the first to violate what he puts in place. Now that those powerful words actually would add on to ensuring that the ED 2030 does not happen, making it sound like the taboo that it is. Enough respect to everybody who's watching us right now, right there. Enough respect to Silvanos Mucheri. Says, man, how is it? Everything is good. I hope you're doing good over there. Yeah, I hope you're doing it big there. Yeah, you know, we serve a very big and a good God. Yeah, all right. Miriam Dutiro Ziri say I'll say my tiro kwa muri koko. I hope muri good also, Mr. Miriam Dutiro. Big up there. Salute back to you there. Enough respect. Now we see Patrick Chinamasa. Let's continue watching the man there. Kana bakudaiso pambira kumana pambiri.
In the drafting.
Zokangu nakawo kuti kana ngwaya kwana muno oyendao. Imagine the days we are coming from, the days of R.G. Mugabe. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the days. Those were not the hey days. Those were the hey days. Those were the hey days, not the hey days. Not the good old days, but the days of the old man Mugabe. They ruled by old man days in Zimbabwe, not the good old days. They were days that just went old with nothing really materializing. Big up to Dumisani Angungu Ziri say Maskati Ani Ikoko kwa Munganga Mushiti. I think that that's like a wonder power. Microphone yangu yanga ya wapa. I hope you zoka pa power. To those watching us live, can you confirm if you can hear me loudly and firmly? Silvanos Mucheri. Now, how is going between President ED and VP Chiwenga? We're gonna be talking about that right about now. All right. All right, let me just verify. Let me just sort the audio there. Silvanos Mucheri. Now, how is going between President ED and VP Chiwenga? We're gonna be talking. Yeah, I think the audio is now resolved. Big up to Hardy ZW Felix Gawi. Now, this is a very interesting subject there. How is it gonna go between President ED and VP Chiwenga in ZANU-PF unless he chooses otherwise. Fellow Zimbabweans, VP Chiwenga is inevitable. He is somebody who wants to set his own record. At one point, we see him becoming a minister of health. Following the time he had fallen ill, we see him become a minister of health and very active as a minister of health, right? Then we also see him comment on the nation's wealth. First time we see him to Lingube introducing my 2% achizotanga his spree for cruel taxations, right? We're just bringing you 2%. Chiwenga comes in out and says, my 2% in the year, right? Then again we see him speak against corruption. Then when we see his speech at the conference, it was what I would say wise, not necessarily strategic. I don't want to be calling it strategic because maybe he didn't plan it as a strategic. So I'm just going to say it was well planned then. Now, Patrick Chinamasa has served as Minister of Finance multiple times, right, during crucial periods in Zimbabwe's economic history. Take note. So, when he was acting as finance minister, he's the one who would allow what would happen in 2008 under Tendai Biti, where Tendai Biti becomes the Minister of Finance. So, Chinamasa is also credited for that. But rather, Chinamasa and John Banonesa Manguja, 2016, those guys would bring down Zimbabwe. 2017, Chinamasa is fired within 1 month. That's where we see the coup happening. Now, how powerful is Chinamasa? Chinamasa is fired. Let me just put this. Let me just put the evidence on the screen so we can get the connection when Chinamasa is fired. The exact time it matters when Chinamasa is fired. Chinamasa is fired here. We can see articles talking about Chinamasa being fired. Zimbabwe ruling party fires. Before Mnangagwa, we see what? Chinamasa was likely to be fired. This article is made 22 October 2017. 22 October 2017. Right? He is fired. We see him in office 27 November 2017. Right? 27 November. He is acting what? We want to take note how significant. When Chinamasa comes in, there is a negotiation somewhere, somehow happening. And does he play part in the power dynamics of the top 10 most powerful people in ZANU-PF? Chinamasa is one of them. Yes, Chinamasa, he is one person who has served all the roles in their order that would that we see people who become president usually hold. Right? That is Patrick Chinamasa from Minister of Justice. Now, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning from 27 November. He is the first Minister of Finance acting from the coup, right, to September 2018. He is deputized by Terence Mokope. He is the first finance minister before Mtulingube would come. He had been Minister of Finance before up to 9 October, where we then see when he is fired just 1 month after, Mugabe is kicked out of office. Again, 2009, Minister of Finance acting, right, preceded by Tendai Biti. So we see something that is very tricky here, right? In would come Tendai Biti, succeeded by Tendai Biti, but at the same time he's preceded by Tendai Biti. Why did they keep bringing Chinamasa back again in the finance? Take note, Minister of Finance, 7 January 2009 to 13 February 2009, Minister of Finance acting, right, succeeded by BT, right, and here we see him again, preceded by BT, 2013 to 2017. So before BT, he is minister. Then after BT, he is back into the finance again. Patrick Chinamasa, right? Then we see him being involved in a whole lot of negotiations. Here we see Chinamasa was nominated as ZANU-PF candidate for the House of Assembly seat from Makoni Central in March 2008 parliamentary election, but he was defeated. Take note, Chinamasa received 4,000 votes against 7,000 from John Nyamande. So how did he become that? 2008. Within ZANU-PF, Chinamasa has been seen as an ally of Emerson Mnangagwa since 2004. As of 2008, Chinamasa is the chairman of ZANU-PF's Information and Publicity Subcommittee. And in that capacity, he acted as spokesman for ZANU-PF in the period following 2008 presidential and parliamentary elections. In this respect, he was viewed as taking over roles of Minister of Information and Publicity, Skanyiso Ndlovu, as ZANU-PF Secretary for Information and Publicity, Nathan Shamuyarira. He was overpowering those people. Along with Goche, Chinamasa was one of the negotiators sent by ZANU-PF to the talks between political parties that began in Pretoria on 10 July 2008 following Mugabe's disputed re-election. Take note. Then after Samuel Mbengengu is dismissed, we see Chinamasa is appointed acting finance minister, right? There is hyperinflation crisis in Zimbabwe. Then Chinamasa would announce that Zimbabweans would be allowed to conduct business in any transaction as of the end of January 2009. Right? Then, when the ZANU-PF and MDC National Government of National Unity was sworn in on 13 February 2009, Chinamasa was retained as Minister of Justice of Finance of Justice. Right? Then after 2013, he has moved back again to finance. Then after problems with Mugabe, we see him being removed 10 September. Right? So we see him in the negotiations 2008. Then in February 2003, Chinamasa sent the police to arrest Peter Barker, a white farmer who had refused to vacate his farm. How did he manage to do that? Anyways, he would do that. So we know he is somebody who is very significant. Very, very significant. And very powerful. And then at one point, we see him becoming Attorney General of Zimbabwe. Right? Chinamasa is well versed in law, as they put it. Of course, here's his way of speaking that might actually make him sound like he is not that bright. But in terms of doing what he'll be doing, he is bright. In 2003, we see him being placed on EU and US sanction list. 17 December 2004, Chinamasa had been Secretary for Legal Affairs of ZANU-PF. He is removed from the party's Politburo in 2004. Why? What would happen in 2004? Those were the days we see Joyce Mjuru uprising. Then in 2005, Chinamasa was ejected from his post as Justice Minister. However, 6 months later, he was returned to the post. How is that possible? In September 2006, Chinamasa was cleared by a judge trying to pervert the course of justice. Chinamasa was accused of trying to stop a prosecution witness, James Kaunye, from testifying in a case against the Minister of State for National Security, Didmas Mtasa, who had been accused of inciting violence. Then Chinamasa Labour Minister Nicholas Goche met with Tendai Biti and Welshman Ngube, Secretary General for their movements in Pretoria. They would be negotiating with Patrick Chinamasa. Take note the role that Patrick Chinamasa would play in history. Then, issue Yema Farms, we see him again playing a very big party. Now we see him here. As of October 2024, Chinamasa continues to be an influential figure in Zimbabwean politics. Right? So he recently emphasized the importance of constitutional integrity when discussing President Mnangagwa's decision to decline an extension of his term beyond 2028, reinforcing his role as key advisor, key advisor within the government. His standing presence in the government of Zimbabwe, in the Zimbabwe political landscape, demonstrates both his resilience and complexities of governance in Zimbabwe. In summary, Patrick Chinamasa wields considerable power as a veteran politician with extensive experience in finance and law, alongside a controversial legacy tied to Zimbabwe's political dynamics. So, adversarial approach, characteristics of his negotiation style, adversarial approach. He is said to be somebody who often engages in confrontational tactics during negotiations. Confrontational approach, strategic communication. Again, he is said to be a strategic communicator with a direct, straight-up approach, commitment to dialogue, framing the narrative, utilization of regional mediation. Chinamasa participated in this, and of course, in the GNU talks, there was Thabo Mbeki. Then the ZANU-PF would leverage, of course, on Thabo Mbeki. Then he has control over key issues. At one point, Chinamasa capitalized on existing divisions within MDC, particularly between Tsvangirai's faction and the faction that was led by Atam Tambara. By engaging with both factions separately, he aimed to weaken a unified opposition and create opportunities for ZANU-PF to negotiate from a position of strength. So we saw in the GNU, Atam Tambara is involved there. Part of his deal there was to not make Tsvangirai so strong. Right? Then he would control over key issues and made sure that Mugabe would remain a key figure in power sharing arrangements. Now, what role does Chinamasa play here? We see some articles here. Elections mediation on deadlock. This is a flashback. We see 2008. Chinamasa is mentioned here as part of the negotiation teams, right? He is representing ZANU-PF at a critical point where we are seeing negotiations. So today we are seeing Nelson Chamisa in Masvingo. What is he doing there? We'll talk about that in another video, right? So here, election deadlock. We see Chinamasa as a key player here, as a major player. Here, in ZANU-PF view, Changirai asked too much of the March elections which had left the presidency and decided the ruling party that sought to retain as much power as possible under a government of national unity, headed by Mugabe, with the Joint Operation Command composed of the heads of the army and security services continuing to play a central role. In the words of ZANU-PF negotiators Patrick Chinamasa. Take note, this is 2008. What does he say? In ZANU-PF view, Changirai asked too much of the March elections which had left the presidency and decided the ruling party thus sought to retain as much power as possible under a government of national unity headed by Mugabe, with the Joint Operation Command composed of the heads of the army, the police, and the security services continuing to play a central role. We see the Joint Operation Command is mentioned here. The year is 2008. Those were the words of Chinamasa, they being quote. Now, who was heading Zimbabwe joke in 2008? So when we see Chinamasa coming into play, obviously there is some negotiation. Now, in 2008, the joke was headed by Minister of State Security Didmas Mtasa. Right? Didmas Mtasa is said to be the one. Right? So when Mtasa says ndakwenda kumusha, what happens? He is replaced by Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa swings into action, but he was replaced soon after the Zimbabwean presidential election held on 29 March 2008 by the Minister of Rural and Social Amenity, Emerson Mnangagwa. Right? So we see the Joint Operation Command was headed by Minister of State Security, Didmas Mtasa. Then he is replaced by President Emerson Mnangagwa. Then here we see power sharing in Zimbabwe threatened by 5-men cabal. Who were these 5 men? According to sources in Harare, the new wave of instability is the work of the Joint Operation Command, a 5-man body comprising the chiefs of the Army, Air Force, Police, Prisons, and Intelligence, modeled on a secret command structure in the former Rhodesian regime. The joke was revived in 1997 when Mugabe launched the third Chiwenga struggle to pacify liberation war veterans through patronage and political backing for land seizures. So we see the Joint Operation Command flinging back into action in the year 2007. At that time, what does Chiwenga do there? Here it will be written, perhaps the most powerful member of the joke is the Zimbabwe Defense Forces commander, Constantine Chiwenga, who controls the generals beneath him and ensures the armed forces get first call on food and fuel, which are sold at favorable prices on parallel market. Operators who profit from shortage. Chiwenga controls paramilitaries and the green bombers who invade farms and intimidate peasants. So already we see Chiwenga is the commander, and Chiwenga becomes Zimbabwe's longest army commander ever. This is 2009. Same key players. There is ED. There is Patrick Chinamasa. There is VP Chiwenga. There is RG Mugabe. Didmas Mtasa is now out of the picture. Another man in the picture is Morgan Changirai. Now, how significant is VP Chiwenga, and how significant is Patrick Chinamasa within the ruling party of ZANU-PF? Chinamasa is one of the top 10 most powerful people within ZANU-PF. So we did a video where we talk about top 10 most powerful people in ZANU-PF. I do put a link in the description box below so we can watch it. According to power dynamics, according to public perception, LP Mahaba says the end of that game have same tears. Felix Gagwe, let there be light in Zimbabwe. Elisha Nyamuramba, enough respect there. Tichaona Muronzi, enough respect. Nyams Escapades, how is it over there in Germany? Enough respect there. May God continue to bless you over there. Kumbulani Dungeni, say blessed Moyo. Enough respect. Priscilla Chingweme, watching live from Cape Town, South Africa. How is it over there in Cape Town, South Africa? How are you keeping it there? Big up to David Mpala. Thank you very much for that positive feedback. Says that Doc, heads up to you, power to you. Thank you very much. I received that, and may God bless you also. So when we see Chinamasa swinging into action, he is a confrontationalist. Somebody who tackles negotiations head on. That's why we see him in the negotiations for the GNU standing bold. Standing bold. Now, so Chinamasa's sources of power. Number one is political positioning. Patrick Chinamasa is well positioned within the ruling party. Patrick Chinamasa is very well positioned. So when we talk of positioning, right, that's where he derives some of his influence. Negotiation skills. ZANU-PF's key negotiator in history. Factional influence within ZANU-PF. Chinamasa is a political mobilizer. This allows him to influence party dynamics and electoral strategies significantly, right? So he has factional influence, control over party structures. As national political mobilizer, Chinamasa shapes the agenda of the party's youth and grassroots structures. On overall, Patrick Chinamasa's power in Zimbabwean politics is characterized by his strategic roles within ZANU-PF, negotiation capabilities during critical political negotiations and control over party dynamics that influence both electoral outcomes and governance practices. His ability to navigate complex political landscapes while maintaining loyalty within the party solidifies his position as a powerful figure in ZANU-PF. So, Patrick Chinamasa is one figure to take note of. Here we would see one article that is penned in the year 2021. It would read Patrick Chinamasa's troubling return. I wonder how rich Patrick Chinamasa is. At one point he is speaker. At one point he is at many points he is Minister of Finance. So here we see he is likely to be there when they mobilize for next elections in 2023, perhaps well after. Chinamasa is coming as a replacement for Victor Matemadanda. Right? Prior to him, there was Angel Betrugeje, who assumed the post after the coup. There is no doubt Chinamasa is an intelligent and he is smart in the scheme of ZANU-PF politics. He is slightly away from ZANU-PF, a clever lawyer and a big ball of energy. So, they know him. Patrick Chinamasa. In ZANU-PF. Then we see here again. Power sharing threatened by five-man cabal. Okay, we saw this one. Then, again, so from the time of 2008, we see the Joint Operation Command will be headed by E.D., who is a Minister of State. Right? Joint Operation Command. Some of the members who served: Opam Shinguri, Valerius Banda, Command of Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Ezaichi Monyo, Elson Moyo, Commissioner Godwin Matanga, Major General Paradise Zimondi, Isaac Moyo, John Mangunjga. Take note now, this is getting disturbing. John Mangunjga would participate in the Joint Operation Command. Maybe, okay. National Security Council. The joke was to be renamed National Security Council. Then it is chaired by Mugabe and Changirai. That is what would happen there following the GNU. Then we see Owen Ngube, Minister of State Security at one point. So Minister Owen Ngube is one guy we saw making scenes again at the ZANU-PF conference with ED 2030. Now, who is the Minister of State Security now? Now it's Minister of State in the President's office, where we see our CIO director. Anyways, now the military has more overall power. Watching from Balikito, KwaZulu-Natal, Gilbert Nasho, Langton Moshiwa. Watching from Kwekwe, David Ampala. Listening from SA. Okay, now before I sign out, let me just put the video there where we talk about the most powerful, top 10 most powerful people in ZANU-PF. So this is calculated as per percentage. We'll be looking at various facts. This is not my pick, but Consolidated consolidated information there, not necessarily consensus. So I put it in the chat and also in the description box of this video. ZANU-PF top 10 most powerful people. I'm just copying the link. Enough respect to everybody who's watching us live. Bear with me there. The network is slowing a little bit there because I'm using the same network to be streaming